All events, 90 minutes. Join Inside Sports Talk Radio on Power 95 FM. Presented to you by Colonial Group International, Global Atlantic League, Lindell's Group of Companies, Game Time, and Energized Wellness Solutions. Let's now go live in studio with host Ian Rollins and co-host Earl Bolton.
And good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Inside Sports Talk Radio. It is Monday, December 11th. This year has flown by fast. I'm Ian Rollins along with my co-host, Mr. Earl Bolton. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Rollins. How are you?
I am fine. All is well with you?
All is great, man.
Had a great 48 hours?
Yeah, actually been good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Had a little R&R?
Quite a bit of R&R. Quite a bit.
That's the first time I heard you say that in about 7 months.
Yeah, a lot of fresh air here today.
That's understandable. Just want to give a rundown regarding our guest that will be joining us in the studio today. We will have our CEO of Bermuda Broadcasting Company, Mr. Patrick Singleton, who is no stranger to sports, as you know, he represented Bermuda on numerous occasions in the Winter Olympics. And of course, that's just around the corner. Actually, it's February 8th. So he may be giving us some information, sharing the public what Bermuda Broadcasting Company may be providing. Who knows? We'll be talking on other things with Patrick. He's a gentleman that wears many hats. And in the business world, as well as in the sporting world, and of course, we're going to talk about sports with him today and the international subject regarding doping and the Olympics itself from the summer to the Winter Olympic Games. So he'll be joining us in the studio. Also, Mr. Dave Wolf, one of Bermuda's finest gentlemen in fitness and conditioning. He will be opening up his own business. He'll be coming in and sharing with us what he's going to bring forth. I train with him on Monday and Wednesday mornings, and he puts him through a rigorous program. Sometimes I want to sit there and cry. Exaggerating, Dave, trust me, but it's painful. I'm not going to lie to you, it's painful and it's worth every minute. And of course, we will have Adrian Charles Shield joining us in the studio today on the health and fitness segment. So we've got a good lineup. This is obviously winding down for the Christmas festivities. And of course, next week, Monday, will be our last one for the year. Take a hiatus, very quick break, and then we return in January. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Why are you calling me sir? Keep calling me that.
Certainly.
Anyway, because my CEO is here, I want to behave myself. Since it's your guest, I'll let you lead. How's that?
Okay, well, as Mr. Rollins has indicated, we have Patrick Singleton, who is other than the CEO of Bermuda Broadcasting, he also is an executive member or committee member of the International Olympic Committee's Athletes Commission. Also sits on that committee for it represents WADA. And several other boards within the IOC and obviously the World Olympic Association. But first of all, good afternoon, Patrick.
Good afternoon to you. Good afternoon, Sir Ian. Fantastic to be with you this afternoon.
Well, as we know, the sporting world has been glued to television, internet, all over for the last few weeks with the issue of doping and the suspension handed down to Russia by the IOC. We've seen, even up to today, some of those decisions have been upheld by CASA. You know a little more about it, but what do you think, now you've had time to, I guess, digest, hear a little more from the inside, what is the talk around the IOC with regards to the ruling in which they've handed down?
Yeah, so that's a tough question to answer because there's a lot of different answers that can be given.
But we want the juiciest one.
Well, I'll give you the politically correct one.
Oh, see,
I like how you worded that.
Okay.
Well, what can be said? That I think it's a good decision that the IOC came out with. That it was the right decision.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Russia is sort of beginning to accept it.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is that these athletes that are being sanctioned still have the right to appeal.
Right.
They still have the right to go to CAS. And in fact, right this very moment, I'm actually waiting for a call from the Court of Arbitration for Sports. There's a case going on right now, which I have to give evidence to today. So they had the right to CAS and to a fair hearing. What happened was that there was a German TV station that found out about the doping, and they published it. And then it happened shortly before the Rio Olympic Games. The IOC and WADA got together and they created something called the McLaren Report. It's an independent press report, and he had 30 days to try to figure this out. He didn't have a whole lot of time, but they found that there was enough evidence to suggest that there was something going on inside Russia for the Sochi Olympics. So the IOC they didn't have enough evidence, and they left it to the national federations, the international federations, excuse me, to decide. So the IAAF sanctioned. They said no Russian athletes can compete in Rio, but other international federations allowed athletes to compete, and the International Paralympic Association banned them. So there was it was all over the place for a little while, but it was just the timing, right? So what the IOC did was they commissioned 2 reports: the Schmidt Commission and the Oswald Commission, and those commissions have been working for the past 18 months to try to figure this stuff out. Now, there's a very controversial Russian doctor who was in charge of the doping labs in Moscow and in Sochi, and he's basically come out and said, "Look, I fixed the system, right?" And it was fixed in with him working in hand in hand with the Russian KGB or FSB to switch out the samples.
Yes.
They thought that rather than risking the athletes even testing positive, that what they would do is they would totally manipulate the system so that there would never be any positive samples.
Right.
So they could dope right up until the Olympic Games and maybe during the Games, and then they would swap it out. And I think it was called the disappearing methodology.
Right.
It was incredible. This is all alleged, right?
Right. Well, he's even on record saying it.
Well, the doctor is, but then the Russians say that the doctor is unreliable, that he had mental health issues, he tried to commit suicide, and that he's a traitor, right? That he did this all on his own. It didn't happen at all. But so the IOC has worked through this, and they have made rulings, and then there's a disciplinary committee in which the IOC Athlete Commission sits on, and they have found a lot of these athletes guilty. They found scratch marks on the bottles. These bottles were not supposed to be able to be opened.
Right.
And the Russian FSB developed a tool apparently and allowed them to open it, but the tool leaves specific marks on the bottle. So I've heard from the IOC's medical director. I've heard from WADA's medical director. I spoke to him in Turkey 10 days ago, and in Seoul and in Lausanne over the past month. It seems to be pretty overwhelming.
Right.
Like they've got their science down. In addition to that, they found that so during the Olympic Games, some athletes had to give multiple samples, right? And there's specific gravity in the urine sample that they give, and if it's different, then the athletes will know about it. The testers will know about it. So what happened was some of these athletes gave samples. They know the specific gravity, but the backup sample, the clean sample they can swap it out with, has a different gravity. So they have to match the gravities, and the way you do that is by adding salts. But the problem is that the salt samples that they added were so far beyond what was humanly possible to kill an athlete. So they then know, okay, this sample is going to So there's a whole lot of nonsense that took place, and the IOC's come out and said, right, we now believe these reports to be true, and these are the sanctions. Russia, as an NOC national, is banned from the coming Olympic Games. All those athletes that were involved are banned. The Russian Ministry of Sport and all officials associated are banned. The Deputy Prime Minister of Russia banned. The NOC official from Russia banned. So, there's been a pretty stiff sanctions right now. Putin is very involved in sport. My organization has a close relationship with him, particularly his wife, who is an Olympic champion. And we, in fact, had our Congress there. We've been to the Kremlin. We have a pretty good working relationship with him and his wife. And they're not taking it very well. On the surface, they're saying that, okay, fine, but underneath...
Now, we all know doping is nothing new. It's been going on since Lord knows when.
3,000 years ago, right?
There's been several athletes from various countries that have been banned. We know, everybody remembers the sprinting, Ben Johnson.
Ben Johnson, Canada.
We all know about Marion, and we know about the U.S. people. But this goes a little further because this takes it from an individual ban to a country, a state sponsor, which is something no one's ever seen before. How significant does that play in the fact that the IOC has made these decisions to kind of stamp out anyone else thinking of attempting, or any country thinking of attempting to do it? Because you're always going to have those athletes that will try it to see what they'll get away with.
Right.
But if the country's got a lab set up to beat the system, Is this sort of a deterrent for any country?
Well, I hope so. I mean, Plato was talking about this 3,000 years ago, about athletes ruining their bodies, gymnasts, and so on, and the drugs or the things they were taking back then, alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a new thing. And I was talking to the IOC president when I was in Ghana. He was saying, he was on the IOC application, the first one set up. But the problem that they were trying to solve back then was doping.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing today. It doesn't change. So I think it's just gotten worse. And as money gets involved, and the level that Russia wants to get to, they want it to be the best.
Mm-hmm.
And to a degree, the doctor says that he helped Putin raise his popularity level, and then immediately thereafter they invaded Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
So Russia has used, or the Eastern Bloc countries have used sports as to show their country how powerful they are. I don't know that we'll ever stand up to it, right?
Right.
And there are other things that are starting to crop up in sport as well, like match fixing.
Mm-hmm.
It's increasingly problematic.
Yeah, you had someone banned last week.
Yeah. And there are other problems in sport, particularly the harassment and abuse, sexual abuse of young athletes. So there are a number of problems, but doping has been at the forefront for a very long time. I don't know how we solve it, because the dopers are always ahead of the tests. And what the IOC has done, what I've done, is said, we're going to keep the samples for 10 years, and hopefully science catches up. Hopefully it's caught up in 10 years so that we can then go back and test. But it doesn't help the athletes who came second or third. They're lost.
Right.
And so what we're doing in the IOCAC is we're trying to find ways to give the athletes that didn't have that chance in Sochi the experience in Pyeongchang, to get their medal at an official Olympic medal ceremony. But still, it's not the same
taken
thing.
Away from it, yeah. Because, well, if you look at it, there'll be 2 medal presentations in the cross-country skiing, as the gold medalists and the silver medalists and now have their medals taken away, pending the arbitration hearing.
Exactly.
But if that's the case, then third becomes first. Fourth, the only good thing, as you have indicated, some of these athletes are still competing.
Right.
Which actually bodes well for them. Although they would have had that medal 4 years ago, they actually had that opportunity. So much has been lost in that time, though. Endorsements and all those type of things. But how is the IOC working with athletes who say hypothetically, I'm not competing anymore? That was the last Olympics, but that moment has been taken.
Yeah, it's tragic, and you can't get back.
Right.
It's a terrible tragedy, and we just have to fight to ensure that we protect clean athletes. And we protect athletes on the field of play. So there's nothing that we can do to get that back. It's a tragedy. I mean, the guy who won the gold medal, at the Olympic Games in Sochi, Russian guy, I beat him by 7 seconds a few years before I retired.
Right.
In sport, 7 seconds is like compared to the Bermuda back.
Right.
In
your sport, yeah.
Is that far? Where did he come from? He had a huge start. Maybe he was geared up his whole life.
Right.
And we just don't know.
Yeah.
But shame on this guy. Shame on him. And I won't get a chance to get my position back from Torino or from other races. And you see it in other sports like weightlifting, whereby 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to about 8 are all found guilty and removed. But do you move the guy from number 9 up? Because maybe he didn't have a drug test.
Right.
Maybe they tested from 1 to 6 or from 1 to 8.
Right.
And they didn't test 9. And there's a huge problem with deciding these medal reallocations.
Right. And obviously that a lot depends on those appeal hearings that go on. But then, like you said, another mess starts because, like you say, what if the 9th place person was never tested?
Exactly. I don't think they reallocate. I think they may move them to first, but I don't think they'll give them that. It's a big problem that the IOC.
I'm just going to say, you moved me to first because you found out 8 guys were cheating.
Yeah.
I don't get a medal.
These are the problems. He's just in front of your face. Yeah.
I have a question. The question is Russia the only country that has been found guilty thus far? I'm sure there are other countries that are trying to be persistent.
So this is a very good question, and it's one of the things that the Russian doctor has pointed out. He says that he doesn't think that it's just Russia that's doing it. I mean, in the video, in the film Icarus, which I heard that you watch, he says that there never was anti-doping Russia. This has been taking place for 30 or so years, right? Pretty longer than I was born.
Anti-doping.
Yeah, the anti-doping guys are actually the doping guys. Right? Yeah. So it's like the police are supposed to protect you and the criminals, right? So, and if that was the case in Russia, then it's probably the case in other countries that are associated with Russia. And let's face it, all the anabolic steroids that are coming out are coming from China. So do they have, and we know that they had problems in China with drugs and schools, so it is a big problem. I think the World Anti-Doping Agency does a fantastic job. But trying to, when it's state-sponsored, when you got an intelligence service with all those resources, it's very hard for a little sports agency to try to keep up with it.
Yeah. Now, but for the IOC, it becomes very difficult or ticklish at times because you have to remember the countries that they're dealing with, because you just brought up China, they come with a bankroll of money and able to host several. They have the 2020, Tokyo have the 2020 Olympics. So the Asians are what you're referring to as far as doping.
No, just China. maybe China. I mean, Japan has a pretty good anti-doping agency, and I think Korea has one, a good one as well. You're never going to totally eliminate it, right? Because there may be individuals, but I do not believe that there's state-sponsored doping in Japan. I lived there for many years. Okay. I'm good friends with Japan sports agency.
Oh, you're good friends with Vladimir Putin too, so
yeah. Let me just clarify that. Our organization that I represent.
So let me clarify that. I like that one.
Have you had coffee together?
Yeah.
Okay then.
We had our annual congress there.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah.
So okay, so but when you start talking about a place like China, who can host several other events, winter and summer events, does this put the IOC in a difficult position as far as awarding countries games? Because it's going to have to look on Russia differently next time they try to bid for an international event.
I think that Russia is so important to the Olympic movement that the IOC was looking for a way to give them a heavy punishment, but not exclude them from sport. So if you look, the Russian athletes are still allowed to compete.
Yes, if they could prove they
clean. And then after February, it's probably business as usual, provided they clean up certain acts, right? They have to adhere to certain codes. They have to pay, I think, $15 million fine. If they want their anti-doping lab to be reaccredited, WADA has told them in Seoul that we do that. That they have to agree to certain terms. They have to give over the medical records and all the data from the Moscow lab. They have to agree to it. Apparently, Russia said that they'll never.
Right, because I was going to just bring it up because the latest I've heard was they said they'll never agree to that.
There's going to be some
backroom talk.
Yeah, there will be some concessions with that, true. But I think WADA has those records anyway. I think they got it from the Russian doctors. So it's going to be interesting to see who else is on this. I mean, it's affected our organization. I have personally suspended and then expelled Russian athletes from our board.
Right.
One of them was a Russian parliamentarian,
right?
Who tested positive from Beijing. She was a board member, so
right.
And get to leave. It's never put.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Another question. Go back. Another question in my head.
So it's all about doping.
It was about doping. Yes. Oh, I got it. There you go. Now that the IOC made this big announcement and has cracked down on Russia, how are you guys looking at Russia now as the host country for FIFA 2018 World Cup, which is only 6 months away?
Yeah, it's a big problem. So FIFA is a member of the IOC, and the IOC president very skillfully sidestepped some of those questions last week. Who knows? So the Russian anti-doping lab in Moscow has not been reaccredited. So I don't know how they're going to test all the athletes. They probably have to be some other agency in the UK or Germany to test and take the samples out to be analyzed. The FIFA president is he's got his hands full. I mean, Muktovin is deputy PM, right? And he was implicated in this scandal. He's the head of the organizing committee for FIFA in Russia. and he's been banned by the IOC for life. It's an interesting one. I think probably the IOC may just not attend. May they just won't go.
Right.
So that's quite right.
I mean, it puts in the grand scheme of things. A lot of people are probably sitting back listening to us talking and saying, "Okay, well, how does this affect Bermuda?" But the reality is that we have athletes that have to be cleared in order to compete against athletes who have been breaking the rules. And we have to make sure that we also are aware of our athletes wanting to play on a level playing field. If we're obligated to be clean to represent our country, we're hoping that other countries are doing the same. Now we find out that's not always the case. But we're looking for the IOC to ensure that the playing field is level, and they've started with this sanction and other sanctions that they've come up with. Now, here lies the problem. 2018, we'll see the Winter Olympic Games.
Yep.
2020, we'll see the Tokyo Olympic Games. Will we have to wait until the 2032 games to find out if someone was cheating in 2020?
Sometimes. So just to talk about the urine samples and the blood samples, it used to be 8 years.
Right.
The statute.
So that's already now 10.
They moved it to 10.
Right.
If there's an indication that something was off and the IOC and the WADA have a test for it, then they'll go in and test it immediately. But the problem is that the athletes only supply a finite sample. So sometimes you can only test it a certain number of times before the sample is gone. But to go back to your point, so 2018 February, 60 days from now, you got the Olympic Games in Korea. Then you got the Summer Games in Tokyo, 2020. 2022 is in Beijing, Winter Olympic Games.
Yeah.
2024 is in Paris. 2028 is in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So the IOC will be able to go back and test for 10 years. Here's the thing: the IOC only tests for samples done during the Olympic Games.
Yeah.
It is the World Anti-Doping Agency's responsibility to test at all times, not just during the Olympic Games. So Commonwealth Games, regional games, national events, and so on. So the IOC is really only focused on Olympic Games.
Yeah.
WADA's job, World Anti-Doping Agency, and there's a new agency called the Independent Testing Agency, ITA, that's coming out that is supposed to be independent of all these other agencies. Because the problem with WADA is that it relies on IOC money and it relies on governments in order to support it. And the problem is that some governments are fantastic and other governments aren't.
Right.
And I have to say that the little Bermuda Anti-Doping Agency is fantastic. Like, it's really good. It stays on top of it. They've got laws in Parliament. They're like a shiny beacon of how to do it right.
Right.
We don't have any labs in Bermuda, and that's fine because we don't have enough samples.
Right.
They send the samples off to the proper labs to do it. So Bermuda does it right.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are other countries that do right as well. I think Canada, I think the UK, and to the US to a certain extent. But you still get doping in the US, right? You had the whole Valcor scandal. That was a private money thing.
Yeah.
And whenever you get drugs and you get money, you get athletes. Problem.
All right. Well, being as you brought up the Bermuda Anti-Doping Authority, people here, athletes here, and obviously family members and supporters, have an issue when it comes to doping and drugs, because in the sporting world, there are two different things.
Performance enhancing?
Yes. Because you have to be careful of how you word it, because it can be taken out of context.
Right.
Okay, so you have those athletes at the Olympic level who take performance enhancing.
Right.
On the local front, you have those people who take what we consider casual.
Recreation.
Right.
Yeah.
Not doping, but drugs.
Right.
Whereas you have internationally, you have in performance.
In competition.
In competition and out of competition. Right. Some of the things that we're tested for here can be considered out of competition.
Yeah. You mean locally?
Locally.
So when I'm talking about the Bermuda Anti-Doping, I'm talking about them testing performance enhancing elite athletes.
Right. Okay.
I'm not too familiar with it with the recreational side.
Yeah.
And it's not really a good question for me to answer. But if you ask me, like, I would like to give a bit of information to the public.
Right.
That, I'm always learning. Right? I'm on the water prohibitive list, which comes out every year.
That list is way too big.
It's too big, right?
Yeah,
it's
way
long.
Too big.
But there are other websites where you can just go in and there are two.
I can't remember the name. So I know you're talking about.
But there's a little way you can type in
the name
Tylenol and you can find out whether.
Actually, it's one where you can download an app on your phone, and
that was one, but they
took it down, and that's what a few athletes, including Tyrone Smith, made a comment about the fact that if he got a cold, he went to the pharmacy, and he picked up, but he wanted to scan it to make sure that it wasn't on the water list, and he was unable to do it because they took the app away.
I spoke to the water medical director in Turkey last week.
Right.
And he said that but there's another app online.
Right.
I'm looking for it on my phone right now because I sent it to a number of athletes, and it works really well.
Oh, okay.
And you can find the different drugs in different countries and find out.
Right.
Because if you take let's say you take Tylenol for your acetaminophen, it might be fine, but you might go to a different country, take the same, where you think it's the same thing, and actually has an ingredient in it, and it can get you in trouble. The other thing I would say in Bermuda, for people to know about, is that on the water prohibited list is insulin.
Yes.
So if you're a diabetic and you're an elite athlete, you need to get something called a TUE, therapeutic use exemption, and it's really easy to get.
Right.
You just download the form, get your doctor to sign it, send it in, you're clear.
Right.
But if you test in competition or out of competition and they
don't
test
have the
you
form,
and you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot of hassle to get out, and you might not get out.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing with the asthma pump as well, but the paperwork's a little different.
Yeah.
It's a little different because although you can get a doctor to sign it, your doctor to sign it, they have to have the medical test. They have to
fail the test, right?
Yeah, they have to do it as well. But we'll be back with more with Patrick Singleton from the IOC after this message from our sponsor. I can't remember the name of it myself.
We'll return after the break.
Christmas is almost here, and with it comes gift giving and family feasts all spring. And we're in the business of helping you with the details, especially the family feast part. We're all making our gift lists and checking in place, but we don't want ever to forget where Christmas is coming from. And it is from the birth of the precious namesake of this great holiday we have gained a gift that really does keep on giving.
You all right? Yeah.
We wish you a Merry Christmas from Bermuda. Why give anyplace else?
Calling all players. What time is it? It's game time. Fun and dependable sports betting on NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, golf, horses, English Premier League, and more. Weekly promotions, instant win games. Be a lucky loser with our weekly draw. Become a game time player. Call into one of our 3 locations in Somerset, Town, or St. George's. For more details, visit gametime.com or 296 Game time. You play, we play. Game time is socially responsible gaming.
All right, cool.
A Bermuda Broadcasting Company station. Now, back to Inside Sports Talk Radio. Inside Sports Talk Radio on Power 95 FM with host Ian Rollins and co-host Earl Beasley.
And welcome back to Inside Sports Talk Radio right here on this Monday, December 11th. We're on Power 95. I'm here in the studio with us is the CEO of the Bermuda Broadcasting Company, Patrick Singleton, who is who's on the International Olympic Committee Athletes Commission. We're here talking about the developments in the IOC with the banning of Russia, state-sponsored doping, and other issues going on globally as we head into the Pyeongchang Olympics, Winter Olympic Games. We had some good news still to be ratified just yesterday, as Matthew Lejour has met the qualifying standard for freestyle moguls. Competing on Saturday, it was a World Cup event. The first of the season, they were taking the top 30 athletes, finished 29th. So his qualification standards went from red to green. So right now, he is on the inside looking out. I know the Bermuda Olympic Association will be, I guess, receiving some documentation very shortly, and then I guess it'll be ratified in less than a week, hopefully, that Bermuda has a qualified Winter Olympian.
My question is this. All the testing that goes on the international circuit, what is the process for Bermuda itself? I mean, you go to Mississippi, Charles Hunter,
yeah.
What is the procedures for Bermuda then soil testing?
You're talking about anti-doping?
Yes.
I actually don't know how it operates here in Bermuda. Are you talking about the individual athlete?
Yes, correct.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I thought you meant administratively. So, well, there's a DCO, doping control officer, who will attend an event. They will attend them perhaps with a list of names. Maybe those names have been given by the National Federation or the club or the Olympic game or the National Olympic Committee or the government. Equally, they may have some randoms. They may go to events and just pick some athletes, right? They will go there. They will identify themselves to the athlete. They should show their certificate or their accreditation. And then the athlete will be taken to a doping control room where they have to supply a sample, and the doping control officer, for men, they have to watch the athlete use the sample. And then they'll be put into a special container, and then that container will then split the samples between two special glass bottles, an A and a B sample, and they're locked. The bottles, the tops are not supposed to be able to be opened again. As we do in the Russian KGB, figured out a way to do that.
Right. So, no. You docked them, yeah.
So, and then those bottles go off, and they're tested at an accredited lab, and they're tested for in competition and out of competition. So,
wow. The problem that we see on the local side is that, and we'll use the international race weekend coming up, because the first, second, and third place people for the 10K and the marathon get tested. Now, not sure when the funds are dispersed, whether or not they wait for the samples to come back, but the celebration is there, the person's out on top of the podium. So far, we haven't had anybody who's come back positive. But the process for is the IOC and let's go to the water standard, which you also said. Is water looking for another way to make the process a lot quicker in revealing whether or not it's positive or negative? Because there's got to be a way where you could say, okay, this is negative, let's move on. If there's a possibility that it's a positive, then we say, hold on. Is water sort of looking to see if this could possibly be something they can look into? I'm talking about the length of the process.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it depends on where the laboratory is. Yes. If you've got a laboratory right there, they could probably do the analysis right there.
Right.
But for Bermuda, my understanding for the elite, samples, that stuff gets sent off island.
Yes.
And it is done in accredited labs, and who knows what their backlog is.
Right.
Olympic Games, obviously, big competition. They are all geared up. They test it right there, and you know the results in a very short space of time. Yeah. I don't know about the recreational stuff. I think that they probably have these tests that they buy, and then they use them, and it comes up good.
Right.
It isn't as sophisticated a test as because they're looking for all kinds of things.
Yeah.
The water has a range of problems. I mean, it has to make sure that its labs are properly accredited, the tests are correct, they do everything to the letter of the law because they can be taken to the court of arbitration and have their cases started out, or they can, and it's not just water, right? So water sanctions the National Doping Agency, so in the US it's called USADA, in the US I believe it's in the UK, and in Russia it's USADA. So they have to sanction these labs, and they have to sanction these federations to go off and do it independently themselves. And there's a lot of bureaucracy in there. So when you're asking, can they accelerate? I think they do a pretty good job. I mean, it comes back in a week or so.
Right.
Generally, right? But then they keep some samples. They keep the sample and they keep it for an extended period of time, 10 years every year. So I think the process is fairly it's never going to be perfect.
No. I'm primarily talking about the smaller countries that are faced with. Okay, we'll use Bermuda. We'll use Bermuda because I know for a fact we test our athletes just prior to them departing, going off the competition. And I'm talking, well, we use football and cricket. But if the samples take X amount of time, the competition is now over, and if an athlete tests positive, and it's a bit too late to sanction the athlete.
Right. So
for that particular event.
So what the BOA used to do, at least when I was an athlete, they didn't want to take that risk. So they tested me in advance.
Right.
They would send a WADA official or an official from one of the from the national doping agencies in the country that I was at. Right. They had to declare where I was.
Yes, that's still a rule. Yes, for our elites.
Tell you where I am at all times.
Yes.
Like an hour a day, every day, right? And so they would come, they would find me, they would test me. And they would test me in advance of the World Championships or Olympic Games or random. And then when I would come back to Bermuda, generally speaking, and I would say, I'm coming back, I want to talk to you about whatever.
Right.
And I would get like, hey, you gotta go here. And they would test you because they don't want to have one of their elite athletes fail a test at an Olympic Games or World Championships, right? Or Commonwealth. So they're going to do this preventative stuff.
Right.
So that their athletes have already been checked and they have a level of comfort. That's my thinking.
Right.
I'm not part of the Bermuda Olympic system.
Right.
But if you ask about football and cricket,
I'm talking about when we test our athletes and then they go off to a competition.
Yeah.
Primarily, when the competition's over, they're getting results of what the test would be.
Yeah.
Because they're doing it so late.
They do it with enough time to withdraw the athlete. Most countries do that as well. They check their athletes in advance.
And you said most countries.
A lot of them. Right. Yeah, I mean, Brits do, Americans do. They want to make sure that their athletes are not going to have a positive result.
Right. Right.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it also boils down to what happened with the football players that were playing in Jamaica, the Miami.
Oh, right. But to be honest, I think let's put it all on the table. These guys weren't taking the drugs. They were trafficking the drugs. Right. It's two different things.
True.
So why are we now testing? Are we still testing for trafficking? Or are we just testing for using? Because that's what it was two different things,
Right.
Who's to say that those 7 guys actually used it? They could have just been bringing it. And that goes for anyone. You know what I mean? So now we had government jump overboard, make these statements, and then we've got athletes who have now been tested left, right, and center. We've put the doping agency in place with the understanding that they're going to also look for illicit and illegal.
Well, now that the law has changed last week, right?
Still doesn't make a difference for athletes.
But for elite athletes.
For athletes.
But
because remember, it's still they could take it from you.
So
it's not illegal. It's not illegal to have under 7 grams, right? But cannabis is still illegal, if I understood the way they explained it.
Is that right?
Yeah. So if they catch you with it, they could take it from you, right? But you can't be prosecuted for it under 7 because it's still considered illegal.
No, I'm not a lawyer here, but say alcohol is in competition for most sports, it's illegal.
Yes.
Out of competition,
right.
For most sports, it's fine.
Right.
So if I was an athlete and I tested positive for weed in Bermuda out of competition and it's now somewhat legal, I might take a case. I might try to fight that as a non-elite athlete.
Right.
Right.
As a non-elite.
As a non-elite athlete.
Right.
Because elite, there's certain rules.
Right.
But I mean, maybe they need to relook at the laws, because what we don't want to do is we don't want athletes who should be out there playing sport recreationally, grassroots. They should not be limited from playing sports because they've been exposed to
right.
Right. That's not a good use of time.
Right.
So you put me on the spot there.
No, I mean, because everyone keeps dancing around what happened back when these guys got caught. No one wants to say what actually happened, and what actually happened was they were trafficking.
Right. and that's a national team. So those are elite athletes, right? That's a national team.
Well, yeah.
Compete for your country and you disrespect.
Did they get tested positive?
No, I don't think so.
There we go.
But they broke the law.
Well, they broke the law. Okay. It's two different things.
Right.
Two different things.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah. But
for recreational use in Bermuda,
be careful now.
We shouldn't be taking away from our young players playing.
Right.
Because it's out there, right? You have to be able to stop that.
Right.
So
it's just like doping in Russia. It's out there.
It's been a lot of doping in Russia.
There's been a lot of. Let me leave that. Well, thank you, Mr. Singleton, for your time. I know. I'm sorry, Mr. Rollins said to say Mr. Singleton.
Sir Ian.
Sir Ian.
I said what? You guys are funny.
You got it written down right there, man.
You guys are teaming
up
with me today.
We want to thank you for your time, and we look forward to obviously, the CASA cases continuing on, and we'll see the outcome of the rest of these sanctions in due course, and hopefully all sorted before the Pyeongchang Winter Olympic Games in February. Okay, we'll be back after this message from our sponsors.
Sports Talk Radio has been presented to you by Colonial Group International.
You guys knew that one. That's this story. I got to read on that.
Woo!
That's got Patrick talking about splits.
Seriously, like they shouldn't penalize young athletes.
Yeah. Well, there's some truth to that because, like you said,
prefer them to be playing.
Yeah. I mean, not as long as it's in moderation. So, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
As long as you play a good game. Yeah.
Other thing is, that's the one that you didn't break. They broke you.
Well, yeah, you get the deal right there.
They didn't.
And like you said, it was a difference.
I'm probably getting a lot of trouble for saying that, but it had to be said.
That's the purpose of the show. Is put it out there so that people know the concept of.
Right.
People know the truth behind what.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay.
Hey, what's happening, General?
How you doing? Yes, sir. Yeah, all is well. How you doing, sir? Big man.
Right, you got
Come on, man. No introductions needed. This is like big guns.
Just gotta be right, yeah. I'm trying to be like you and like you.
Come on, man. Oh, trying to just,
Coming right up.
And welcome back to Inside Sports Talk Radio. Just want to thank our CEO of Bermuda Broadcast Company, Mr. Patrick Singleton, for giving us an interview and updating on the IOC policy, the National Olympic Committee's policy regarding doping, and obviously the rundown in Russia, and they were banned for the Winter Olympic Games. But obviously there are some athletes who can represent Russia on an individual basis.
Yeah, if they can pass the test.
Pass the test. Again, those Winter Olympic Games ended in February 2018 in where?
Pyeongchang.
Say it one more time.
Pyeongchang. Yeah.
Where's Pyeongchang?
It's in South Korea.
You got?
Sorry?
You got?
No, I'm going North Korea.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to make sure they don't let off nothing that goes over. So.
Okay. All right. I understand Bermuda.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The world's on the edge with what's going on with Russia and what's going on between the United States and North Korea.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we have young Dave Wolf joining us in the studio right now. Of course, he's one of the finest gentlemen in Michigan. He has a morning class that was unbelievable. I've been attending that class now for 4 months. Mondays and Wednesdays, and I was trying to brave us sometimes, even on Thursday. This conditioning class is about a 45-minute workout. Starts about 6 and finishes about 6:45. You told me to start your day. Come see Dave. Come see Dave Wolf.
Oh, okay.
Explain to us, Dave, what this class entails, what can people expect, because this is a new type of CrossFit, as I call it. And it's not exactly CrossFit, but I call it that myself.
Yeah, I guess what the term I come up with, which has been up for a little bit, is more functional. So functional training, right? Which is just being able to kind of, I guess, before you talk about the class, it's just really like life. It's not really about a class. It's not really about aesthetics. It's more about being able to maintain and sustain movement for the rest of your life. I found that when I got a little older, I used to do a lot of athletic based off football, track, swimming, and then when I got older, this stuff just stopped moving as easily as it once used to.
WD-40.
Yeah, a lot of WD-40.
I know.
So I'm into my 40s. I'm just went 46, and I feel great.
Right.
But I did notice that things just wasn't able to. So I started researching the functional fitness, and for me, it was what we call fundamental movement pattern, which is a fancy way of saying we all go back to how we started.
Right.
We start as a baby, and we crawl, we roll, we reach, we pull, we lift. So if you incorporate those fundamental movements into a workout, A, you got a good workout. B, you have direct transferable ability, which basically means that forget about the class. Then when you leave the class, you're still able to handle yourself.
Right.
So for me, it was about creating a style of training that would encompass functional training and fundamental movement. So that's what I came up with. And then I went from there to about to launch my own facility, which would be a nice space. This is Bermuda, so sometimes you take a go with the bed. You have a plan, work towards a plan, then life throws you a few curveballs. And I've been around long enough to know that the curveballs is what really makes you. It's not the plan. Anybody has a plan. So that being said, I had a space that was lined up for it that kind of fell through, but I found another location which is just as nice. I'm about to launch my own functional facility, which is a space where I can do all those things that I just described in a nice little indoor location. Yeah.
So this new facility and place is looking to start when another couple of weeks or
I'm gonna meet today with the landlords. Hopefully, I'm gonna sign my lease today. Everything's been verbally agreed to. We got a little due diligence last month, just making sure everything was when good foot.
Right.
And then I'm gonna start moving. The advantage is that because I had another location lined up, everything is here. All the equipment's here. The resources are here, so it wouldn't take much to get up and running. I'm trying to do a soft launch sometime between the 20th and the 25th for Christmas. And I might even throw in a few classes on the holiday, just kind of keep the interest there, and then January launch in January. Definitely.
And you say the holiday stand on Boxing Day?
Yeah, so I'm looking at Boxing Day. Don't put me on spot. Yeah, like, yeah, you said Boxing Day. But yeah, most likely Boxing Day or New Year's Day. What I might even do is just send out a little a blast.
Okay.
The website's being developed now. That comes online December 30th. But in the website, I'll probably just send like a WhatsApp blast, engage interest, and see those regulars who want to attend. Everyone wants to work on some of that holiday festivities. Maybe Boxing Day or New Year's Day. Like that.
How do you keep it creative?
That's a good question, man. So that's a really good question. So, and for me, that's I think one of the things I've been able to do well really is do the same equipment or apparatus, but use it in different ways. So whether it be like you might put time in today, so now we're working from time. Next time is repetition. Next time we're doing, we're not even using the equipment. It's just really just variation. And to be honest, I think in that variation, because the body is all about what we call adaptation. The body is very smart. So no matter how you try to outsmart it, it figures out a way of adapting to it. So you constantly want to introduce either new elements to it or even like a slight twist. So just trying to be creative, you know what I mean? Just trying to find, doing a squat. You can do a squat, many different ways, right? So just try to be as creative as possible with the equipment that we have and the space. The biggest thing for me is also space. Right. If you have space, then you can move. So I wanted to get a place that was important to have space. A lot of times people, in respect to a gym setting tends to be a bit more tightly compact. It's not for that reason. Why have more open space? Open floor space means you can do a lot more creativity.
When is the best time for people to work out?
I don't think that's a really straightforward answer. All right. I always say it's funny. I always tell people my advice is you take lifestyle, you take your goals, and you work backwards. So, say for example, Mr. Right down there, he might have predominantly a lot of evening night work. Where his clock is different from my clock. So, for example, I get up 4 or 5 in the morning, I'm ready to go. At 6 a.m., I'm smashing it. But somebody who doesn't have sufficient rest and body clock is a little different, they might have to work out at nighttime or around 12 o'clock. So I think you just take your goals and you say your lifestyle, and then you figure out how to work backwards from there, rather than saying you should work out 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. You know what I mean?
Because you have some people that would, because they would prefer your class, would sacrifice.
Yeah.
But are they cheating themselves if they're not getting enough rest?
You got some good questions. Yeah, and so I've had clients that do a lot of personal training, do sports teams, stuff beyond the class. The class is just really one aspect. But you're right. So I would tell a person, listen, you're not getting the benefit of it. So you're coming to class, you're getting 4 hours sleep. You know, this is a high intense class. You're burning stuff. So now it becomes counterproductive.
Right.
You're not got enough resources in your tanks to do it. You know what I mean? So it's important to figure out what a person's work. I think Malva, I mean, even put you in the spot a couple times. Ian came. I'm like, I can tell today you're not on all cylinders.
Right.
Yeah, so you work backwards again. You know what I mean? So, but I have also lunch hour sessions. I do have some evening sessions. So you might be able to pick a time that's more convenient based on lifestyle.
Do you notice your clients before they recognize themselves? Because there are times where people say, I'm going to the gym today, but they're sluggish. Do you notice that amongst people?
Yeah, definitely. Because it's all performance based, right? And if you're a good trainer, you're looking for cues, you're looking for different things. It could be a one-off thing. So if you're pushing big, for example, someone's, I say pushing, but if you're lifting big and you're not got to respond, so you just might be, your muscles are a little bit fatigued, and therefore you can't lift as heavy as you did previously. But also it could be genuine fatigue, where sometimes the chronic problem is people are doing too much.
Yeah.
All right. So since we're talking about working out, is really what's the key. It's like I look at like working out is like a marriage, I call it, like a relationship, right? So it's comprehensive and it's holistic. So okay, you got the working out, which is the exertion. What about the feeding? What about the resting? What about the meditation? So all these things are working together. So if a person is missing rest, another working out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, they're not getting sufficient rest. So it's important to rest. As a matter of fact, a lot of research has been done on the importance and the benefit of rest and how it helps the body to recover and to fuel itself. So rest is important. So I take naps. If I can, I take a nap in the middle of the day. I take a 2 o'clock nap. I try to get a 10:30 nap because I do understand how naps are helping me to get rest.
His training is very unique, and he says he tries to mix it up. And so, for example, a session would entail like pushing sleds, jump boxes, overhead press, sprints up and down. You push a sled, you drag a sled, you run the sled. It's variations, abs, ropes. And he may give you 7 stations, right? And you've got to repeat it maybe 3 or 4 times. Pulling, rowing, running on the skill mill. There's so many different obstacles that you do. It's just like basic stuff that we did in primary school. Not high school, but primary school that worked our way up there. And it's basically taking you back there, but it's putting it into a time factor of 45 minutes and you as many as you can. And that's where the challenge comes. And so he's right. If you don't get the rest, you're not really going to perform.
Right.
And so it was the summertime when I started getting into the vehicle, and I was just trying to take it to another level for myself. So I was coming in the morning and then coming back like on a Thursday evening. Going to therapists was great. Like the third, fourth therapist said, you're tired. Here I am. How you know? I can see the performance. You're not doing what you did Monday and Wednesday morning. He's like, dress it back. You'll get your results where you want to go, but just dress it back. And so therefore, I did that, and I don't go to therapists anymore. But his programs are there designed to take you to the next level. And it's intense.
But it's even taking back to what the class that Ian's describing is more of an advanced class. But what I like about it is that it's for everybody. Like, so the same thing that an athlete would use, or need to do, an idiot person need to do. Which is why I like it. So it has a broad appeal. What I mean by that, meaning that when do we ever stop reaching up?
Right.
When do we ever stop bending over?
Right.
When do we ever stop pulling? So, you know what I mean? So the aspects of training, you would just slow it down. So if it wasn't an advanced person, you would just do the same equipment, but then say the slow pace. Take the time element out, take the distance element out, and just do it at your pace, but you still need that. So that's why I like it. That's why I figured. I think, really, to be honest, that's where Bermuda's good, because people always ask me every day. They say to me, "Man, you go to the gym, don't you have enough gym?" And I look at them and I say, "No, you don't." And I say, "Because do you have enough doctors? Do you have enough dentists? And as long as there's a need, then you need to provide a service." So meaning that Bermuda doesn't lead the nations in health right now. We don't. Right. We don't lead the world when it comes to diabetes. So we have a lot of sick people. We have a lot of people who need training. So what I'm trying to do is create like a little synergy between people who need services and want to get kind of hooked up and do some functional training and help them with that.
Dave, this time of year, as you mentioned just before we got into the interviews, that people going to celebrate Christmas festivities and get extra food, drinks, extra drinks, go to the parties and so forth. I'm sure people have been knocking the door for January. And it's usually the first quarter of every year. Gyms, personal trainers see the increase in their sales or their marketing aspect of fitness. Why do we wait to the new year to put the resolution together instead of saying, you know, let's do this for life?
You had a chance to say it, Aaron, to me. It's really just a habit. And it's funny you mentioned that because really that's what I'm, more than the classes, I'm glad it's kind of went this direction for me. That's what I'm looking to sell. I'm looking to sell sustainability and just keep it going. Like really, it's for your health. I think people sometimes we are a little bit, use a bad word, ignorant. We're a little bit ignorant when it comes to our health. So it's really about health. And you can go up the road and get hit by a bus, get hit by a car, something to happen tragedy. But for me, it's like if you can do little things to add to the quality of your life every day, then you should be doing it. And it's not just exercise, but it's eating right. It's having sufficient nutrition. I do meditation. I do self-actualization. I see myself where I should be. And something as simple as telling someone, I used to wake up, I get up early morning. I'm not sorry as DJs and stuff like that. Radio people, but I get up pretty early. I get up between 4:30 most mornings, and I used to go into my Mondays. I used to like dread my Mondays, man, because Monday was the start of this long grind, and I wouldn't get a break till like Friday. But what I started realizing was that in doing this chronically, it would affect my Saturday and Sunday because now I'm thinking about these Mondays. So I can't enjoy my Saturday and Sunday. I don't want to go to certain place, but I'm thinking about Monday.
Right.
Anyway, so something as simple as what I started doing was really just on the weekends on Sunday I used to go to Astor Park and I would sit off and I would like visualize my Monday and just tell myself I'm going to go into my Monday and I'm going to smash my Monday. And by doing this, it's just started reframing my thought process, right? So then I go into Monday. Monday's not affecting anymore. So the same thing is all a part of that, in terms of eating right, working out, good thinking. It all goes together. And I think it's helping people to make that connection. That's what I want to do, help making that, hey, listen, this is not something you do. So my business is called Fit for Life. Fit for Life to me is a name I picked up about 10 years ago. Very popular name. You look at like searches for like fitness. They come from all the time, Fit for Life. But when I looked at it 2 ways. One, I was like, man, life is not easy. Right? Life is hard. It's a grind. Things that happen to you in life. All the hurt, the pain, joys, losses. And to have any quality of life, you got to be fit for it. You got to be able to endure life. And then I look at it from another point of view that as you get older, having a quality of life. So you have to have a level of fitness to enjoy your life as you age. So to me, it's putting those two philosophies together and helping people realize you have to work at it every day. You got to do something every day to help you to be fit for life.
Going back to the question we're all asked earlier, and I'm just adding on to it. You're seeing the results. You see the athlete that's performing at this level. But in the last 5 or 6 months, what have you seen the athletes who have been coming to you on a consistent basis from one athlete in the class? Have you seen people take the level and increase where they want to get?
Yeah, definitely. You know what I mean? I think when people do what we're talking about, when they realize the importance of everything. All right, so let's say you came to the gym every day. You had every class. You did every class on a weekly basis for the next 3 months. It doesn't mean you're going to guarantee any real level of success unless you're getting proper sleep. All right, so now you got the sleep in the class being done pretty good, but you're not eating right. Now you realize that you're chronically fatigued, so you got to get your eating right. So what I'm selling is basically everything. You got to do everything because it's really that's just life. So, but for those athletes and those people I train who have done it, I've seen the quality of life and myself exactly. I mean, I feel like I'm 26. I feel like I still could play football, but I'm not. I'm not that naive. But I feel like I'm cool. But I like the fact that if I want this morning, I got up at it. I came to her, I had my clients. I finished about 8, and decided to go for a 5 mile run. And I enjoy running and having good posture and good feel and finishing. And then I did a workout. So for me, but I'm also realizing I had good sleep last night. My bed last night for 8:30. I had a good meal last night. I'm going home tonight and I do my meditation. So I'm selling what I'm doing. This works for me, and and people are doing it who have the equal same benefits.
I can tell from listening to you here that your personal training or the advice of the trainer is so different compared to others. Is that because the turn of the century you can see that fitness is changing a lot now as opposed to say 10 years ago?
I think it's changing, but I think everybody's got their philosophy. I don't think anyone is right or wrong or any better. I don't even use terms better or good or bad. It's just I have a different philosophy. For me, what it served me well is movement. So like I said, when I started getting in order, the movement wasn't as fluid. So that I started to research how can I move better. And even something like massage, I get massages. I try to get them every other week. Yoga, stretching, because again, if you're now exerting energy, I'll be lying telling someone if you're going to exert energy and exert physical force in your muscles, you will be sore. And what you're going to do by creating sore muscle, creating lactic acid inside the muscle, your range of motion is going to be severely limited. So then you need to be doing stretching and yoga or something else that's going to be holistic, right? So for me, that's because I want to be able to do this and come back in 5 years and say, hey, I'm 50 and I'm still running, or 55. So if I'm going to say that, then I have to be able to kind of maintain it. And so that's what I'm selling, what I'm trying to use. Yeah.
What about people that have prosthetics that still want to work on or try to? Do you have what do you call it? Scaled down versions of?
Again, I think that's why I like what I have been doing of recent. Not to say I haven't benefited from weight training. Weight training served me well, and aesthetically, I'm at the point where I want to be. But again, I think somebody who's 80 still could do. I've had clients who are morbidly obese, quite heavy. We use the same equipment we're going to use in an advanced class because it's involved in some of the same muscle groups. So prosthetics, somebody who's got really limited range of motion. Probably somebody with a prosthetic, they can still do it as well. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because you have people that get hip replacement, ankle, knee, whatever, but you start going to therapy at the hospital because that's what you regularly do, and then all of a sudden it's like, I don't feel like doing that anymore.
You have to.
Yeah,
you have to. Like it's hard, and I'm saying that in the most compassionate way I can. They have to because that's what's going to save them by movement. So someone who had a hip replacement or knee replacement is to start off doing, and they'll do a drill that doesn't have a lot of load because you don't want to put somebody who's got an injury with a lot of load, which is sometimes the challenge with typical weight training or gym training. The aesthetics is that it's really a gym. So, but you can do drills that don't have to put a lot of load on these joints, and you can protect them, and you can get to a good workout with that. But they have to move. Like we all can't get away from it. We try, and I always say we all gonna have that same conversation with our doctor. We have that same checkup, and it's gonna tell you have to move more. So if you're selling or you're supplying somebody with that, it has a lot broader appeal.
What drove you to be the person you are now?
I think I've always had an inherent passion for this. To be honest, I did play sports. I was pretty good. When I got a little older, I wanted to find something. I used to look around a lot of ex-athletes.
Right.
So I knew that when I was going to start playing football in particular, I don't want to fall into a category of sometimes a lot of ex-athletes. I wanted to maintain. So I looked at different things to get my certification in personal training. So I did that, and then the group training. Then I got a certification in strength and conditioning, nutrition. So I just kept doing it, but I wanted to stay, kind of have that still, I guess, that still athletic ability without actually playing sports. So I haven't really played any sport in probably about 7, 8 years. I don't even play backyard football anymore. But I feel like I could.
Right.
I'm just not going to do it.
It's smart.
Yeah.
It hurts in the morning.
Yeah.
There's Monday morning just don't work.
I know.
Were your times made the same, 6 o'clock mornings or 6:15, and lunchtime? I think 12:30.
Yeah. For the most part, what I'm going to do is keep what I have now, which is a nice, vibrant person training thing. I have a nice open class. I want to add in a few more groups. So I do like what I call a beginner's class, or like people who are just coming in who want to kind of do some functional training. I'll do that. And then I'm also working on some corporate stuff where I have companies again. And the idea for that is also corporate honestly is like taking another, I guess you could say, tenet of my business model, which is helping people who are groups. So you can do it like the organization can change the culture of that environment by saying, hey, we're going to get the whole company participating in a group activity. You get team building, you get cohesion, you get some unity, and nobody really working on getting healthy. So having classes that are just for corporate companies, having like I'm also in a partnership with a few doctors who what I call a medical intervention program. So then what happens now usually is you go to your doctor and he would tell you what your cholesterol levels, your heart rate, and then he would say to you, depending on the situation, he might say to you, go join up for gym, and that's kind of basically how it is until you come back naturally. Where now we're looking at partnership, which that the doctor will have an automatic feeder program. So clients who need to get referred to a functional training space will come right to me. So a couple of things that are
Will you be having the functional training on Saturdays or Sunday mornings as well?
Yeah, hopefully. What I like to do is kind of do like organic growth. So as things grow, I'll launch more. I'll get some people to help me out.
Sure.
Yeah. At this point, yeah, we'll probably be doing Saturday and Sunday, 7 days a week.
Well, that was going to be my question as to being that you're going to be opening your own kind of setup. Does that add more pressure to yourself?
It does in a certain way, but in certain ways it also takes pressure off me because currently right now I'm sharing the space with others. Currently now I still have to go from different locations on occasion. So now I'll be based in one spot. I can, and to me, environment is a big part. The environment is a big part to how a person feels. So I can change the environment. I can set the tune, whether the music, aesthetics, different treatments from the wall. So I'm actually looking forward to it, and hopefully I'll be less busy than I am. Cool. Balance, right? Balance.
Balance is the key.
That's the key. Is there anything you'd like to add that we did not ask?
Just to thank you guys for the opportunity to come on board and talk about my passion. Maybe have me back in a couple of years and see if I'm still functioning.
I can't see that not being the case.
No. That's what I'm saying. We have you back in about 6 months. Have back in about 6 months. Give an update on what's happening in June of 2018.
Thank you very much.
Hey, not a problem. For our listeners out there, once Dave's up and running, trust me, take his classes. You really enjoy it. I bumped into a young lady on Saturday. I was making some Coopers, and she's like, "Hey, I've been looking for you." Okay, what's up, Dave? I need his class. That's exactly what she said. I need his class. I was like, all right.
Well, we got a website coming soon. Like I said, by early January, the website out, different Facebook pages, Instagram pages. So hopefully, if people are interested, it won't be hard to find. So,
all right, try something. All right. Well, you show investment for it.
Thank you, sir.
We're going to take a commercial break and be back after this. Cool. Actually, that location is going to be bound.
Yeah, I think so. What happened? We leave the tree. Funny enough, and I signed my lease. Right? I signed my lease on December 1st, and I got a call from the bank actually, the landlord of the building. He called me saying that the building was black building. Yeah, black building, right? So it worked out where I may have dodged a bullet.
I think you did. You did touch it.
Yeah, so
you did.
Okay, good. So thank you, man.
It worked out well.
Yeah,
hey, brother.
Yeah, good to see you. Thank you, man. Yeah, my brother. Yeah, be blessed. Right, good to see you. Good. Yes, brother.
A
few words,
Yeah.
I might have to come check out myself.
Brother. Yeah, feel free. Cool. Have a good day.
Try to get the arms look like yours. Yeah. Oh boy.
at 296-3700 or CPI.com.
We call it never without the added time. It's the perfect family event to mark in your calendar for the kids to see. Festival Light, brought to you by President Offices and powered by Belleville. Thousands of multicolored lights illuminate the wintry sky with metal designs throughout the weekend in December. 19 innovations of nail designs that include the wow factor of incandescent displays and myriad of
Patrick sent me some stuff he wanted to talk about. He sent me
for programming services and adoption. Email info@offices.us or call 232-0859 for details.
Calling all
I want
players.
to
What time is it? It's game time. From the dependable sports betting, NFL, NBA,
website reference to check out. Check
Yeah,
comment
sure.
about. So you got it right. He said he's gonna talk about it. He said he's gonna talk about it. It's globaldraw.com.
Calling to one of our three locations in Sunset, Town, Elton, Georgia. For more details, visit gametime.em or call 296-3222. Game time. You play, we play. Game time is associated with multiple gaming services.
It should not be.
10% discount. SOP purchases, 8% members every week. Anyway, if you know, sign up at stationturn.us. 1 2 8 SOP. Quick sign up. 10% off users every week. That's all amazing. More than half of your free 10,000 users. So that is giving 50 plus users this month. Offer ends February 20, 2018. We also brand the trademark ExxonMobil Corporation and GTO.
Now, back to Inside Sports Talk Radio. Inside Sports Talk Radio on Power 95 FM with host Ian Rollins and co-host Earl Baker.
And welcome back to Inside Sports Talk Radio. I just want to thank Dave for coming in and giving his insight on Fit for Life as he's taking his brand of fitness to a whole new level. And we'll be coming forth in about another week or so. And his programs are very intense. Very intense. So it's something that you want to take up on. But then there's a beginner's class too.
Yeah, I'll take beginners.
Okay. Let's start.
Yeah, you gotta start somewhere.
Start somewhere. But you start here, we'll try. By the time 45 minutes till, go back. Okay. Go back. Okay. So it's about every minute. Just give an update. Just got a text from the boss man upstairs, CEO Patrick Singleton. Just wanted to give us an update regarding information on information on drug testing. And he said, if you take the website Global Drug, GLOBALDRO.com, you go in there and it has all the information that can assist you about globaldraug.com website. Just read paragraph 2. It says, Global Drug Reference Online Global Drug provides athletes and support personal and information about the prohibited status of specific medications based on the current World Anti-Doping Agency WADA prohibited list. Global Drug does not contain information on or that applies to any dietary supplements. Visitors can search Global Drug for specific information on products sold in the United Kingdom, Canada, United States, Japan, Australia, and Switzerland. So again, if you go to globaldrug.com, it can give you all the information on the drug testing policies and what you can take and what you cannot take. And it says here, Global Drug is brought to you through a partnership between UK Anti-Doping, UCADA, the Canadian Center for Ethics in Sport, Anti-Doping Switzerland, and the United States Anti-Doping Agency, Japan Anti-Doping Agency, and the Australian Sports Anti-Doping Agency are official Global Drug licenses. So if you go there, again, the globaldrug.com, it will give you all the information about this drug testing policy for athletes in sports. Let me know, dream of, and representing your respective countries.
But see, this is where we were getting into it. That's something for elite athletes. Patrick did say, if you're representing the country, you're an elite athlete. In a sense, yes and no. You're a very fortunate athlete to represent the country at an international level, but are you considered what we would consider for the Olympic Association an A, B, or C athlete? And the answer would have to be no. But one of the things that we have to be very, very careful of is the classification of athletes, because we want our athletes to be considered elite for a short period of time and then go back to being a domestic, then we shouldn't be conflicting both. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
When we look at these websites, when we look at what WADA puts out those things for elite athletes. Right? In Bermuda, we conflict people and conflict issues. But what I said earlier about the fact that, because we talked about the Miami 7 guy.
Right.
What has transpired from that is, we don't care if you traffic it, we just don't want you to use it. Because they put all the locks on usage, as opposed to the criminal element, which was trafficking.
Right.
You see my point?
Yeah, I got you.
I understand we want to protect ourselves and protect our athletes to not be what they consider nationwide embarrassed. But when do we start putting the onus on the individuals themselves?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just think, I understand that Bermuda Anti-Doping Authority have rules and regulations they're governed by, the policies put in place by the government, and they also have to follow the WADA rules, right? But if you can go away and represent Bermuda as a, let's say, a politician, and then you can't represent Bermuda at no higher level than a politician because you're making laws and you're sitting with people around the table, and you don't have to be drug tested, why are we making sure our athletes are drug tested?
Because they're competing, they're not.
Well, if you can make the rules that everybody has to be drug tested in order to compete for the country, because there are some things that you go to, some games that you go to, that they will randomly pick people. Fine, if everybody's cleared, fine. But the people that made the rule won't choose the rule to use themselves.
Percentage-wise, yes, you're right.
No.
Not 100%.
Well, they won't use the rule that they made.
Of course not. No. That's not deep like Russia.
Well, we use sport. We're using it around. We're using it flat across the board. That if I can put in place a rule to make sure that every athlete that represents this country has to go to Basada to be tested to represent this country, then why can't I, who represents the country at all levels, being government, or I could be the what are they? Opposition. Why can't I do the same thing? Why shouldn't I be able to do the same thing? Or why shouldn't I have to do the same thing?
You should lead by example.
Lead by example.
Well, yeah, but I'm not competing.
You are. You're representing this country.
No, you're dealing with the administrators, right?
Yeah. Well, either way, you're representing the country. Whether or not you're competing or not, you're representing the country.
You represent the country as an administrator, but is the administrator going for gold, silver, bronze medal?
No.
So why should I be drug tested?
Because you set the example for the country.
Fine, I get that, but I'm not getting a gold, silver, bronze, so why drug test me?
So it's okay.
Mike's not on.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
So, I hope I'm not putting my foot in my mouth.
You'll find out.
So it's okay to sit there and, as a politician, admit while you're being recorded that I gave my family member herbal tea, not herbal tea, but weed tea made of that, and that's okay. But our athletes,
no, it's not okay. No, you got exactly. No, it's not okay. You're absolutely right. So they're not there. It's just like what's happening in the United States. These politicians who are for sexual harassment. That's not okay. I get that. So if I'm drug tested, I'm just saying that, I'm just speaking devil's advocate.
Right.
If I'm an administrator or politician, whatever, sports management, and I'm drug tested, and I'm found guilty, I expect to be actually step aside, step down. Because I'm not leading by example, especially if I'm setting the policies. Right? So therefore, both of you are right in that. But I'm just saying, I need to be drug tested. I'm going to set the policy. I'm going to lead by example. I'm speaking on my behalf. I'm not going to cheat.
But that's the problem,
right?
But that's the problem.
No, and you're right. You're absolutely right. So okay.
Most people do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah. Right. So then, randomly take an administrator and test them as well, and let them face the penalties.
Okay, so let's put it like this.
It's just that they're not getting gold, silver, or bronze.
Well,
no, but these are people that are putting policy into place.
Right.
I agree.
So they could be, these policies they're putting in place affect our everyday lives.
Yeah.
So somebody that's high, and they may happen to be high at the time, and they put up a better argument than the next person, and so everyone agrees with their argument. So now this is a law, and this person was high. That's okay.
No, it's not. Because again, they're making the policies.
Be a better debater.
Right? And you're right. So I said I agree. And the sports management administrators who are putting the policy in place, like water and others, drug testing. But has that been said that they should be drug tested?
I think someone mentioned that before, but it was not agreed on.
Right, they wouldn't agree.
Yeah, I've heard that.
They would agree to it?
Argument. Yeah,
and they're wrong.
Right. I've heard
they're wrong because then why would you not agree to it?
Just set the policy some years ago.
Then if you're not going to agree to it, then how can the athlete respect you?
Exactly.
Well, that's the point I was making. That's what I was saying.
Yeah, but I'm saying that drug test. I'm telling you, drug test. If I'm the administrator, I'm putting the policy with drug test.
Right.
But I'm saying no. The athlete or athletes are not going to respect you. Period.
Exactly.
You know that. I know that.
Exactly.
Right? So they're wrong. They're absolutely wrong. So, Putin, if you're taking it, come forward.
And they meant nothing.
I know that. I know that. Oh, his wife.
Yeah.
It's a good topic.
Yeah.
It's a good debate, and you can go on and on and on. But in the 21st century now, you should look at it. So, and that goes from the IOCs to the FIFAs to any other people. Let it happen. Bring it on down.
Yeah. That's what needs to happen.
So it should be done locally too, then.
Yeah.
All right. That's a good idea. You accept that?
I don't know. I mean,
they've already tried.
Yeah, it was tried once before,
and it didn't go anywhere.
My whole thing is that if you have to do it to represent the country, we should all do it to represent the country, regardless of what it is we're representing the country for. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. So if I take the test and I pass the test, which I know I will.
No. But you're going to represent the country. Yeah. I know. You get a pass. Go ahead.
We'll give you a gold star.
Yeah. Remember this in primary school?
Yeah, I was going to say, this is not primary school, right?
When you're asking, children say, well, what am I going to get for that?
Yeah, what I get?
Cookies?
If you want me to behave, what I get for it?
Exactly. Do the things you're supposed to do.
He brought anxiety, no, because he passed. That's when you do that.
The raw side of the mouth.
Raw side of the mouth.
I like that.
Just before we go to our health and fitness segment, just want to give our football fans a quick update. I'm sure they've heard by now the Champions League Final 16. You heard about that, right? All right. So, real quickly, Juventus will take on Tottenham. Basel will take on Manchester City. Porto will entertain Liverpool. Seville will host Manchester United. Real Madrid versus PSG. So one of those two teams will be going. Schalke will take on Roma. Chelsea versus Barcelona. Bayern Munich will take on Vasquez. 5 of those teams are English teams. And with Real Madrid taking on PSG, obviously one of them will be one. Chances are going to be surprised if an English team wins the championship.
They are odds on favorites.
An English club.
Yeah.
And the English club that has won it the most is Liverpool.
Okay.
5 times. I
That's your team.
That's right.
You heard it in the voice.
Hey, I overheard something this morning, but correct me if I'm wrong. But did Manchester United lose this weekend? Did I hear that wrong?
That's correct.
Quincy, my ex-husband, he listens to the show, so I guess he must still be depressed. Even my children say, Mommy, Daddy gets upset. He starts screaming at the TV, and he gets all upset.
If I was listening to you, if I was listening to her right now, I would be like, Taxi, what the heck?
We have a member of staff that we've told he can't touch any equipment around here today.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
It used to be terrible in my household.
Stay on the ground floor.
Yeah.
He used to be depressed for the whole week. I'm like, oh gosh. He used to be terrible in that household when he lost my children.
Was that one of the reasons why you put the divorce? I had to say, I'm sorry. I'm divorced because my husband can't do it.
I mean, I even learned some of the players. I was like, oh, sensitive.
Okay.
But yeah, the team shuts down when they lose.
It was bad. They had a scuffle after the game.
Yeah.
Man City players and Man United players.
Well, because the Man City players were celebrating in the dressing room. The door must have opened as they were doing it, and the Manchester United players were not happy.
Shouldn't they be allowed to celebrate in their own
No, it's just
you won the derby.
So what? They're supposed to muzzle their excitement until they get home?
No, that's people. You got to respect, show respect. I mean, the league season, I know anything is possible. Yes, there's an extended possibility to be able to league more.
But you won the derby. You won the derby away from him.
Of the derby.
But away from him.
I'm confused. So you're not allowed to celebrate?
No, you can celebrate, but you can do it in a professional manner.
How did they do it?
What I've been told is that they were making a lot of noise.
They had confetti. They had everything.
Some people do that.
It's just a league game. We got 13 other games or 14 more games.
But you won
16 more games.
If you would have won the derby, when was your game?
I drew yesterday.
Yesterday.
Yeah,
so if you'd have won your derby yesterday, you'd have been excited.
I would have been excited, but I wouldn't have gone overboard in the visiting locker room.
But if the team that you've been playing against, your derby arch rivals, have been taunting you.
We know that. That's why. No, hang on. That's why we know it's an arch rival. That's why it's a derby. But I'm not going to go there and make a fool of myself in a celebration in the visitors' locker room.
Behind closed doors.
Exactly.
Well, you see what happened? Look what happened. It always became public.
I do because untidy and unsportsmanlike.
Exactly.
Other team.
Yeah.
You can't celebrate. I mean, I could see if they were in their faces taunting them.
They were in their changing room. They have a picture of them with confetti and everything in their changing room.
But they didn't even
So how did United players know that they were doing that? They could hear them? And then they burst into the room? That's unfortunate for them.
Exactly.
That's poor behavior on that.
Well, you're coming to Mike Ron and you're celebrating like that? I guess that's what they're looking at.
That's nonsense. They're supposed to shh.
Yeah.
So let's tell you what.
Let
me be very clear. I'm not United nor City. But let's see what happens in the second leg of the second season when United goes to City.
Yeah. As long as they don't break up anything, you're straight.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm into.
I mean, I can understand. Well, no, I can't understand. But you would expect that of the fans. But I wouldn't expect that of the actual players to carry on like that. Come on, they're professionals. They get paid for this.
Yeah.
You have losses. Yes. Get over
But you know what makes me smile about it? The fact that these guys portray something that they're not. And I'll tell you what. The Manchester United players would be upset that they lost and want to fight. Today they got transferred. That team they don't even care about that team no more because somebody else is paying them a whole bunch of money. So if you're not brought up from the club, don't act like that's your club. That's the club that's paying you right now. Simple as that.
But that's all clubs now, right?
Yeah, right. But that's the point I'm making. You can't be upset if that's the club you're with today because tomorrow you could be with another club who has offered you more money. Simple as that. Yeah. Now, if you came up through the junior ranks of that club and that's in your early club, you've been loyal to that club, and fine. But look at this, and we'll use those two clubs in particular. How many of them have players in the farm system?
Right now?
Yeah.
United has more than City. City has more of an international team.
So United have one, City have none.
I can't say that.
Right.
I don't know United's.
Okay, well, I'm just throwing out numbers.
I'm sorry.
I'm just throwing out numbers. So
United has one, City has none.
Yeah.
Correct.
So it should only be one player that should be really upset. Yeah.
But in sports that ain't.
Oh, I know. But that's the reality of it. Everybody gets worked up. The only people that are loyal are the fans. The players come and go because somebody else offers them more money each and every time.
Exactly. And that's why you would expect that of the fans.
Yeah.
Not
the players.
You're not being paid to act like that.
Because I'll guarantee you, a United player that is offered double his getting paid at City.
But you know what's sad though? Sorry, you know what's sad? This can boil over to the riots with the fans. With the City fans and the Man United fans.
Right, you can't get no worse than those.
So they should be leading by example.
The players.
Yeah.
The players.
Yeah. Exactly what I'm saying.
Right. I'm agreeing with you. They should be leading by example, just like our politicians should be.
And you're right. Whoever's the governor today should be leading by example. The LP.
Exactly. It
MVP,
doesn't matter.
OBA.
They all should be leading by example.
If I'm going to represent the country, then I should have to go around to the road to.
Right. And that's just behavior, period.
Yeah.
You don't like what's going on in the U.S. You know, all this nonsense.
Yeah. Because what I heard this morning, they want people to vote for the guy who's up on all these charges, just so they keep the possession of the. Yeah, they want to keep possession of the seat, so that when it's over, they can get rid of him and bring it just as long as they still in the seat. Right. What nonsense am I hearing?
He may be a pedophile, but just
vote for him today.
Hit your nose. Vote for him, and
we'll get rid of him on Thursday.
Right.
The type of nonsense am I hearing?
And a preacher even said, "Well, Virgin Mary, she was only how old, 13 or something like that." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is someone of the cloth going there, justifying."
Don't watch no U.S. news for the next 48 hours.
I want to see that.
Yeah.
Oh, and when you saw the velvety voices here. Where's my wine? Where's my wine? You had to set the stage for me. I walked in. I was like, oh man.
We got next week Friday. We have your wine.
Next week Friday. Oh, okay.
He's here next week Monday.
Okay.
Give him a week's notice.
Okay, I'm ready.
It's Christmas.
She's talking about you, Roddy, guy.
I'm just sitting back.
When I walked in, I just grinned. I was like,
I'm not going to incriminate myself.
Yes.
No, but I do remember the red wine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've had somebody on the street ask me, "You have the red wine?"
Yeah. Okay, well, we're going to take a commercial break. And when we come back, we will talk about health and fitness amongst Man United and Man City.
Sports Talk Radio has been presented to you by
This year has gone by fast.
This year flew, okay? This year flew.
Wow, I mean, it just opened, and now it's I missed Dave.
Yeah.
Wow, I got in the car and heard him. So where is he?
It's the life that makes the most difference. That's why this Christmas open happiness is
Oh, the edge of town. Oh, okay.
And
I know, he just looks like one big muscle. Every time I see him, I just have the urge to just touch him, because he's just like a chiseled, here, right?
Colonial's offices runs at noon, December 22nd and 29th. Colonial.
That's right.
What time is it?
It's
It's
anytime.
game time. More opportunities to win. All your sports betting needs without the road trip. Introducing Game Time East and Game Time West.
The 22nd and 29th.
And Main Road Somerset.
That's pretty cool.
There's Game Time outlets open Monday to Friday. And Sunday.
That's that for Friday.
22nd.
They go back 22nd, go off 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th, come back 27th, 28th, off 29th, 30th, 31st, 1st, come back to 2nd. Okay. And welcome back to the Science Sports Talk Radio. We just passed 3 or 4 p.m. It's extended on record because we got into this debate about Man City behavior. That's fine. It's a good debate. It's kind of interesting.
Well, Sean ain't come down too.
I don't know if I should say this again, but I'm going to say it anyway. I see why you're
Divorced?
I didn't say that. I was going to say it politely. Living east and it's living west. That's what I was going to say, but you said it. Divorcing my husband because the Man United loses. He can't take it. Oh my God, he's probably.
And all his friends, when he was a prison officer, the prison officers was bringing off the hook whenever they lose, and they would take joy in his pain.
I've got some friends in Nigeria who are Man United fans. Some of them didn't speak to each other when they lose. One guy told this guy out there, he said, "Look, man, you didn't even know football, so don't talk to me." These are Man United people.
I was like, the daddy seems like he wants to cry sometimes. I'm like, oh my gosh, Jess.
Anywho, moving right along. It's that time. It's
Yes,
Christmas
it's
cookies.
Christmas
But it's like
time.
Christmas cookies, Christmas pudding.
Yes,
You know,
it's Christmas parties.
parties, alcohol,
Yes, yes,
wine, red wine.
yes.
Someone go to red wine the other day.
Yes, so
Pie.
people, what I want to encourage is that before you go out, if you can, make sure that you eat throughout the day. Don't, store up for that one meal. Make sure you eat your regular times, that has something slight so you don't go and overdo it. Make sure you drink water like a half hour before, especially if you're going to be drinking, and if you're going to be eating, because the water will help to fill you up a bit. A lot of times you go out and it's buffet style, so that means that you can determine how much food. What I would suggest, a quick fix, is to pile up your plate with your vegetables first. See if you can maybe put half of your plate of the veggies, and then you can put a little dab of everything else. So your plate's already going to be halfway full. Make sure you get your veggies, because a lot of times people use the veggies as an afterthought. Like, hey, I have my cassava pie, I have my macaroni and cheese, I have this, I have that. Oh yeah, I better get some veggies. It's like, an inch of, maybe of veggies. So try to stock up on your veggies, and then you can have, some of the other foods on the side, so that you're getting the stuff that you really, really need. You're getting those greens in there. Uh, and also, like I said, drink water a half hour before. You can do half of your plate with the veggies and then do the rest. Another a trick that I do is, which I've mentioned before, and it may be hard for some people, but get a smaller plate. If you have choice of plate sizes, get the smallest plate, and you can fill that up. And once that small plate is full, you feel like, oh wow, I'm eating a lot of food. You take that same amount of food, and put it on a big plate. You're like, oh, I have a lot of space. I need to, dump some more on. And people dump it on. They shovel it.
What percentage of people? That's a good point. Yeah, they shovel.
And
on
you
Christmas
can
Day.
use it as a weight.
What percentage of people are gonna really say on Christmas Day monitor their food?
Most people are not going to, but then there are some that have trainers, or really, they're trying to do the right thing, and that will just help you. Just get a smaller plate. You can still have the food. Just do a smaller portion and drink right before, because that kind of fills you up. Because when you're growing up and your mother says, don't drink until after you finish. Well, they say that because if you drink right before, you're going to get full and you're not going to be able to eat all your meal. Well, I'm saying go ahead a half hour before, drink that water, not the soda, but drink your water, and then eat. And that way you'll be able to have a bit more control. That's just like, you shouldn't go grocery shopping on an empty stomach. You end up buying more than what you planned, unless you're going with a list. But even if you have a list, you have an empty stomach, you start seeing all these goodies and you start putting things in your basket that you hadn't planned on picking up, you spend more money, and then like me, you may even start snacking in the store. So eat first, have a light meal, drink your water. Also, if you're drinking alcohol, try to make sure that in between those drinks, you get some water. Try to flush it out, because alcohol, yep, I see your water bottle, alcohol dehydrates you. So you want to hydrate yourself, because sometimes you've been drinking alcohol and the next morning you just feel really dry. Yeah. So
you don't feel dry, you just feel hungover.
What? Yeah. Also, what my mom used to do before she would go out and they had these big parties, she would actually take 2 aspirins before she went out, and then she wouldn't have a hangover or anything afterwards.
That's pretty cool. I just be the driver.
Fair enough. And I hope that people do use a driver or drink responsibly. and they don't do that thing that you told me people do, put all that out, the glasses up there and count like it's a competition who can drink the best. And really, I did not realize, I must live in a bubble, but I did not realize that people did that. So I'm hoping that those people have a driver, or they call, no, please, I'm a lightweight. 2 glasses and that's it. I have to sweat it out or drink my water or take a nap.
Okay.
So I'm boring like that.
That's fine. So what happens then on Boxing Day? Mm-hmm. Because what we tend to do, and it's historical, mm-hmm. what's left over from Christmas Day,
yeah.
we have on Boxing Day.
Yeah.
And then what's left over on Boxing Day, we eat on the Wednesday.
Oh, yeah.
But the funny part is this. Mm-hmm. I'm saying the Wednesday because the holiday Monday and Tuesday. The funny part is this, though. By Thursday, I see the people like, it's chicken. The KFC.
Yes,
I'm tired of Christmas food.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But instead of eating that healthy food, mm-hmm. they're just going to the quick pick off, I call it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's crazy.
It is, but you do get tired of it. And I'm one that actually likes leftovers. Sometimes I prefer leftovers because all of the juices and everything get mixed in together. And then I like when my food mixes because I like all different types of flavors. I'm not like some of those people that they can't have their peas touching the carrots. I like everything.
Have few people like that.
Yes.
You sure?
Yes. Like they don't like for the gravy from this to touch that. And so their plate, I know, and I always say that. So their plate, when they fix it, it's very neat. Yeah. It's really presentable. It's pretty. Oh. But they don't like certain things to touch. Mm-hmm. Like you don't want your beets on your rice because you don't want that juice. No, I want all of that stuff.
Maybe their stomach has a department or something.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? You know?
Cassava pie.
And that's
a good point. That's a good point.
But that's how some people act.
That's a good one.
But I like it all. I like the juices still all blend. Like when you get that really good burger, and then I like when stuff starts rolling down your arm. God, talk about food.
Somebody cut it lunch.
But I
can tell I should have used a fork.
And I haven't had a really good permanent burger either. So.
When you eat these home, you know you'll pay up.
That's when you got the mayonnaise and everything.
Jump
all up around.
I'm just blending together. Oh my God.
That's a good burger.
Yes. It starts going down your arm.
So what you want on it? Everything.
Everything, yes, everything. But I could only eat that once a year because those were the biggest burgers I had ever had before. And it was real.
I would eat and plan out my exercise. Okay, 4 burgers and I'll do 3 sit-ups a little later on.
Okay.
Maybe I can plan out everything in 3 sit-ups.
Oh my goodness. How long does that sit-up going to last? Take an hour to come up each one holding it.
Sure.
Anyway, you're having fun. But yeah, and people, you are going to get tired of your Christmas food, and people will end up at KFC. And it's fine, those types of things are good for sometimes food. So I'm not going to say, don't ever go to KFC.
I'm not saying
but, enjoy it, but then don't do that every day or for the rest of a holiday. But enjoy it. I'm not trying to put KFC out of business, but you're not trying to buy shares in it either. So, don't go from one extreme to the next.
Yeah. Okay. I'll keep it in mind.
Yeah. How much time would you say people should exercise or give themselves time before or after exercising before they have their dinner? Or let's say before. Because some people will decide on Christmas morning, I still want to exercise.
Right.
But then you have those people that Boxing Day would want to say, you know what, I feel like going for a run. I ate so much yesterday, let me go for a run.
Actually, it's how people feel, really. Because most people that train, they do eat right after they work out. They need to.
Right.
And he's pointing to himself. Yeah, I'm one of those people, too. I need my food. If I'm going to have a really hard workout,
but you have particular food after you work out, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, I'm talking about that person, like, off the street that's just going to go and have cassava, ham, turkey, and all that right after a workout. That can't be too healthy.
No.
Right.
But people will do that, and they'll feel, well, I burned so many calories and yada, 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 yada.
But have they defeated the purpose?
Yeah.
Let's be real.
But you know what? If this isn't something that you do every day,
Right.
you're not eating like that every day. I mean, it's life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're gonna. You should have your days that you can just indulge yourself like that, and you shouldn't feel necessarily guilty about it if you are training throughout the year.
And what will happen though when you make that switch? Your stomach won't be able to take it.
Yeah.
You'll be like,
if they're used to eating differently,
I can't eat anymore.
But then on Boxing Day, you're not going to do that again because you don't like that feeling.
Right. Right. On Christmas.
Right. And then you were saying about exercising after. Well, if you're eating heavy foods like that, you're going to have a hard time getting up to exercise after. So you're not going to have to worry about people getting up right afterwards and exercising. That's the last thing on their mind.
I ate the Christmas food. I tried to run on Boxing Day.
Yeah.
I think I ran the first mile and walked the rest. And that first mile must have been about 12 minutes. 13 minute mile. I'm serious. That was like painful. I was like,
right. And
never done it.
Lesson learned. And people, you know, we have pain and discomfort for a reason. You know, it helps to teach us a lesson.
Right.
So you're not gonna do that. I can think of there's this sandwich shop that I really like, and I don't go there very often, but I did this time. And I thought, oh, well, my class isn't until 4:15, so I started eating around 3. Well, you know, I'm a slow eater, right?
Oh, yeah.
So by the time I finished, it was just about time to do my class, and I'm telling them to wind up, and I'm like, oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. It did not feel good.
Right.
So perhaps I should have started at 2 o'clock or 1:30
right.
eating to give myself time for it to digest. And because, you know, I eat forever. That wasn't a smart idea. So I'm not going to do that again.
Right.
And, you know, I just felt like the whole time my stomach was, you know, it felt horrible. And, you know, and I'm trying to tell them to wind up. And I'm thinking, oh, good night. I felt disgusting. It was horrible. So, yeah, lesson learned.
Yeah. I think that was it. Anything else you'd like to share before we get together for next week?
Yeah, just really be mindful of your portion sizes, and if you don't think you can do that, then start by filling your plate with half veggies, because you can't go wrong with that.
Right.
You know, drink your water, eat throughout the day. Don't hold off like you do for Thanksgiving. You know, just save that as your main meal, because when you do that, you eat and eat and eat and eat and eat, and then it's just uncomfortable. And then what do you want to do afterwards? You want to sleep. So
that's true.
That doesn't go over well. And make sure that you drink water somewhere in between your drinks to hydrate. Also, sometimes instead of having rum and coke or whatever mixture you have, you can actually replace. It may not taste as good, but you can replace the soda with water.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So that's fattening.
Of course.
And
easy to digest.
Exactly.
I got you.
Exactly. So, yeah.
All right.
Well, the Christmas parties have started, so I just thought that was important.
That's for sure.
Yes.
All right. That's our segment of health and fitness. We'll take our last commercial break. We'll be back after this.
Cool.
You are funny. It's like, oh, I'm the boss. My choice. I was like, okay, you ain't shy.
No, I'm not.
Yeah. I can tell. As long as you and him get along.
Yeah.
Think about it, man. I didn't. Man says, man, I didn't.
I know. Because the children just said it. Yeah, Mommy. And we were hungry. And Daddy was so upset, and he was acting like he didn't want to cook us anything. I was like, oh no.
This was yesterday. I
said, oh gosh. So I just said, well, I'm sorry, guys. I can't dictate what goes on.
$10 something good. You send him up to KFC. And then you can send him.
Oh gosh, so I will see you good people next week.
Good
seeing you. Didn't get to hear you much, but it was good seeing you.
Still been playing bad food.
See, when his gets growing, you just
it gets bad.
Take care, my friend.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Wow, just had an extended 21 minutes of Inside Sports Talk Radio this morning. The last 20 minutes or so prior to the show, we spoke for 90 minutes. So this is what happens going forward, Mr. Days. For the new weekend, the clash comes again in the second one of the league season. And then it's pretty early to see what happens at the end.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Any final comments you'd like to say, sir? Before we wrap up?
Have a nice sporty week.
Okay. Well, we can talk about next week because we're wrapping up the season 2017 and 18. 2 week hiatus, and we've got January. So we'll talk more about that next week. Brother Riley Gunn, thank you for sitting in for our ambassador. Hope that food gets better.
Lots of good nourishment.
Nourishment, remedies.
Yes.
So you can pack that.
Lots of good well wishes too.
There you go.
I got to thank all the people who called up and just gave up their shares of remedies.
I'm sure they were interesting.
Yeah.
He says, yeah. Okay.
I have to stick to the natural ones.
Okay, good stuff. All right, thanks for joining us. That's all the time we had.